Hello and welcome back, guys. So in this episode we're looking at uploading files. So how exactly can we upload a file to our blog? So let's see how that can be done. Now what I want us to use is the users page, because if I go to my text editor here and look through the file system for my Laravel project, you will see that I do have a controller inside apps, HTTP controllers. I have a users controller, so the users page will work. And I also have a, if I go to routes and web, I also have a route for the users page right here. Okay, so I want to remove this route with an ID. I don't need this anymore. This was just for one example, so no need for that. So we do have a user's route. So those are the things we need. And this leads us to the controller with a specific function that it's going to access in there. So if I click back on the user's controller here, you see that there is that function index there. So what happens when we want to upload something? So let's go to the users page. Let's navigate there. And by the way, I do have a view. If you go inside resources and views, there's a users.blade.php, but it's empty right now. So if I do go to users here, you will see that I get an empty page as expected. Okay, so now let's create a form of some kind so we can upload something in here. So we're going to go to the same view, users.blade.php, and in here I want to create some HTML. So I'm going to call this one upload, and then let me create a form. So there's a form here, and make sure you type the method as post like that. Okay, and then let's add one input, one input of type file, so we can upload a file, and I'm going to name it file. So you can give it any name that you want, just remember it for when we go to the controller, but for ease of access I'll name it file. And then I'm going to put a break tag here, and then put another input of type submit, like so. And I don't need the name for this one. What I do need is a value, so we can see something here, and that value will contain the value post. So let me save this for a second, and I'm going to refresh my page. And now you see there's browse image and post. So here I can put a question mark and say, please select an image to post, something like this, and then put your break tag there, like so. Okay, now an important thing to remember is to not forget the CSRF token, because if you do forget that, it's going to tell you that not found. So let's come back here, let me show you that. So if I refresh the page and then I hit post right now, it's going to say file not found or something. Oh, so method post not supported for this route. Okay, so what it's saying is that on this route we only support the get variable. So let's change that. So we're going to go to our web.php. This is inside the routes folder, and here the same route that I have for the get, I'm going to duplicate it and then change the get to post like that, because we want the same route to accept post variables as well. But if I go to the controller, let me save this. So here it's saying get the user controller, that's okay, which is a class, and then run the index function. But if I come to the user controller here, here is the index function, but instead of using the same function, because I don't want to get confused with the variables that are coming in here. So what I would rather do instead is duplicate this and create another function which I'm going to call post. Now take note that both are returning the same view so that we still get the same page either way, only that this receives the normal get process method, and this one gets when you post something. So when you're just viewing the page, this is what you go through, but when you're posting, you go through this one. But at the end of the day, it shows you the same page anyway. Now the reason I changed this one is because I want to make use of this request HTTP. So I'm going to come back here and cast this one as a request like so, and then use the variable req. You can type it as request in a complete manner, or you can put any name. It can be A, it doesn't really matter as long as you cast it correctly here as this class name. Okay, so once we do that, we are good. Now it's going to accept post variables, but let's come back to our web so we can tell it to go through this function instead of this one. So if I come back here, I'll change the index to post like so. So now we allow post variables posting as well. So this error will mean nothing now. So I'll refresh this, resend the data, and then you get this page expired. Now page expired is supposed to be a protection for cross-site scripting. So instead we have to add the @CSRF like so token. So refresh, resend. Oops, let me go back for a second and refresh here. Okay, so let me post that one more time. Okay, now I just get a refresh. Nothing is being posted here. If I browse here and select, I'm just going to select an image, any image here. Let me click post, and then it just refreshes because I haven't told it to do anything yet. So everything is good so far. Now, an important thing to remember is that when posting files and images, if you're just not posting text, you must change the encoding type. Now, I'm going to leave that out for now so that we see the problem that comes up if you don't include it. So let's come down here and we want to validate the data. So here I'm going to set a variable. The variable doesn't really matter. I can call it data or validated if you want. That's up to you. So validated is equal to, now I want to use this request thingy here, the request class, and say validate like so. Now validate is a function that takes in an array of validation parameters here. So this is how we do the validation. Now, like I mentioned in another video, you can check the docs to see what would suit your kind of validation. So here the file, the input that I'm looking at is this one named file. So I'm going to use that file name there. I'm going to say file because this is an array here. So keep in mind, this is an array. You can create the array outside and then just supply it here, but I find it better to just type it in there. So file, now let's give it some parameters that we want it to use. So first of all, it's required, it must be there. So if I just save that and come back here, refresh the page, as you can see, I haven't sent any, I haven't added anything. So if I click post, it just refreshes. Now, I want to be able to see the errors that are coming back. So I'm going to go to my users.blade right here inside the form or before the form. It doesn't really matter. You can style this as you please. I'm going to put that because I have blade there, so I can use blade and say error like that. I think it's errors like that. Now, if you're not using blade here, just use PHP tags to replace these two. Okay, so save that and let's try again. I'm going to refresh the page and you see there's an empty array now. So the errors are not there. So let me post and let's see. So now we get an error and it's saying So as you can see, this is an actual object here, which contains this item and that thing. So it means if I want to get the error for the file, I can simply do that and say file, like so. So let me come back here and refresh and hit post. Oops, I guess it's not working that way. I must have forgot something there. Okay, regardless, if I refresh now and post, I get this one. So it says file, the file field is required. So this is one of the errors there. And that's because we did add a required field. And then also I can set it to check if it's an image. Now, if you want a very specific image like JPEG, you can use MIME types like this. You can say MIME types and then you add your MIME types there, like image/JPEG, or you can just say types like so and say JPG, PNG, maybe that's easier, or BMP, something like that. So let's try that one and see how it works. So post, the field is required, right? Oops, let me go back like here, and then let me add let me browse and add something that isn't an image and hit post. Okay, types does not exist. Okay, so I may have misplaced that one. Maybe it should be type like so. Let me resend. Okay, so that doesn't exist either. So this is why it's important to have the docs on your side. Normally for images, I just type image there when I'm using it myself. I don't really care much about types, but as you can see here, if I go back to the docs, there is a list. Let me go down here, scroll, and there we go. So there's one here called, the one I had used is MIME types. So there's image, there's file, MIME types by file. So where is the one that I'm looking for here? I think it's probably file. So let's look at file, image, file. Let me click on image. Let's see what we get. Okay, so MIME types is there, but okay, so it's mimes actually. Okay, sorry, my bad. Okay, so let's change that one to mimes like so. So let me go back here and let's refresh, resend. And you see the file must be a file of type JPEG, BMP, and so on. Now the easiest that I use myself is image like so. So that way it takes care of all the image types that exist. Okay, so the file must be an image. Great. Or we can use MIME types like so. Image JPEG like that. And let me go back here, refresh, browse, send. Okay, so that error comes back there. So for now, we're just going to set it to image like so. All right, so if I come back here and browse and send an image this time and post, the file must be an image. So it keeps repeating this even though I have sent in an actual image. So let me post that, you see. So the reason is because we didn't tell it here to include an encoder type of multipart / form data, like that. So that's the only time we can upload images or files if we do this. So let's try again. Browse, image, post. Okay. It's still saying that because there was the previous form. If I do it again, it's going to work. Post. Okay, so we see no errors whatsoever, which is good. Now we can go ahead and save the file. Okay. So to save the file, we get the path from it, like so, and say path is equal to, and then we're going to say, now keep in mind that when you do a validation like this, if things don't work out, if there are errors here, it will not run your code that is here. So just keep that in mind. Now here we can put path is equal to, and we're going to say request file, and then we put the name of the input, which is also file, like this, and then we do store, like that. Okay, so here you can choose which folder to store the file to. So maybe, I don't know, you have a folder called my uploads. If the folder doesn't exist, it will be created. So let me put that there, like so. Now this returns a path. So if you're going to save to a database, you will have to save this path in the database because that's the path to the file. So here all I'm going to do is print it out, or just say echo path, like so, for now. Okay, so the path will be created in one of these folders, which is storage. So far there's a storage here, and there's app, and then there's public. This is where all the files go, but it will create a folder because we have specified a folder here for our files. So let's try that and see how it goes. So if I do browse for a file, and then select that file here and hit post, so it returns to me the path to the file here. So it's in the folder my uploads, and then this is the name of the file. Now as you can see, it has generated a random name for your file. Now if you don't like that, you can actually change that, but let me come back here for a second. And let's go to app. Now you see there's my uploads here, and if I click in there, there's actually our file that we have uploaded in there. Okay, pretty cool. Now let's see if you want to change the file name. So if you want to change the file name, change store to store as, like that, capital A there, and then you put your folder, but then you can put your file name here as well. Let's just say my file.jpg, like that. So let's come back and let's refresh the page to resend this data. Okay, so now you see the file name is my file.jpg. So if I come back here, you will see that there are now two files in the folder, my file and the other one. All right, so this is as easy as it goes to upload a file. But now what happens if I want to actually display this file in my to display the file that has been uploaded down here on my uploader? Now that's going to be a bit of a problem, because if I come back here and get the path itself right here, let me copy that. I want to transfer that data here, so I'm just going to say put a variable here, an array, sorry, and I'm going to say path, and then I'm going to set that path to be equal to path, like so. And then I want to come back here and right down below the form here, I want to add an image, and then source, and in here I want to put the path file here. So let me come back here for a second, say URL, and then I'm going to put path in there like so. Okay, so this is supposed to be an image, right? So I'll refresh and send this, and you see that the image doesn't actually show. So in the next video, we're going to see how to actually display images on your website in Laravel. I'll see you in the next video.